After Hours by the Velvet Underground, and because we just lost Lou Reed, and because a number of the Velvet songs were in the R.E.M. repertoire. What did Lou Reed's life and career mean to you personally as a singer and a performer?
To me personally, there are two eulogies that I wrote for Lou this past month after he passed away. One in Rolling Stone magazine, which they edited, and so I put the full piece up on my Tumblr site, and the other for something house.
Michael Ezra's site,
Talk House. Talk House, yeah, and Talk House was more focused on, I think, his legacy as a musician. The Rolling Stone piece, I knew that they were pulling from Laurie Anderson and Bono and Patti Smith and a bunch of other people. So I focused on his, my poll quote in Rolling Stone is that he's the first queer icon of the 21st century. And then, you know, for me as a young man, he was so profoundly important for kind of presenting what we now know is a much more acceptable idea of sexuality. It's a very fluid thing that's not binary and not black and white. But he kind of was doing these really ballsy interviews in Australia. There's an amazing one that's going around Tumblr right now, kind of ripping Tumblr apart, where he's asked, are you a homosexual or a transvestite? And he answers on live TV, sometimes. Which in 1974, people didn't talk like that.
On TV.
Yeah, and now it's kind of acceptable and okay. I can't believe that I thought that that was acceptable. I somehow presaged by 10 years millennial angst and lesbian chic in one haircut.
I was sitting a few seats over from you and I could hear you laughing during Get Up. Tell me a little bit about what it's like watching yourself performing those songs, shirt off, rat tail.
Well, I think from the shirt off song forward, it became Harmony Korine. I somehow presaged Harmony Korine by 15 years because I look like every character in Gummo with the makeup and the lesbian haircut. But yeah, I mean, Mike and I are back there cracking up. I will be truthful to say that I haven't watched this film since we finished editing it. I've never seen it projected, I don't think, except on a TV screen. And I'd forgotten about a lot of, you know, the audacity of what, I mean, how pretentious I am on some level. And on another level, like, you know, if you put it in context of where we were historically as a country and where music was, you know, Nirvana didn't exist yet. Reagan, I think if this was, we had George Bush Sr. had just become president, and we had just been through 8 years of what we thought at the time was the darkest possible era of American politics. We
didn't know what was coming.
So there it is. You know, and I was 29 years old when that was made. Mike was 2 years older. Peter was 4 years older. We had been on tour for 9 years, and you know, I was obviously adrenalized to the eyeballs. And we were all really enjoying ourselves. I think that might have been the last show that we did for 6 years, officially, 5 years at least.
I think it was. I think you go from this and then go 6 years before going back out mounting anything as serious as that after a decade on the road and after 9 months of touring green pretty hard. Where does the confidence come from for that bold and audacious performance? I think one of the amazing things about TOURFILM is how close it gets to you and how close into your eyes it gets. And I mean, it's really hard to watch and not wonder what you're thinking as all of this is going on. So
you mean here now or there then?
Oh, there then.
There then, yeah.
You know, I mean, you had played certainly, you know, big shows and big arena shows before this, but this felt like a tour that was about a performance as much as anything else.
I think we had, in 9 years' time, we had developed into a band that had a very large audience. That was probably a 20,000 or 25,000 seat venue, and that was the size venues that we were playing in America at the time. And then much larger in the summer festival circuit in Europe. I think, I mean, I was watching it and, of course, being very critical of my own performance, but not to mention the haircut, but no, I won't say that. But the thing that struck me the most was how kind of beautifully innocent it appears to me now, looking back and seeing what we were, we managed to take not a lot of lights and some really talented filmmakers and piece it together into something that was, my goal in 1989 was to play to the person at the very back, the very worst seat at the very back of the venue. We were playing these enormous places, and without the aid of LED screens and a big budget with which to project ourselves there. So hence the giant suit and the white clothes and the eye makeup, the kabuki kind of thing, and then the dancing was totally lifted from Johnny Rotten, which I didn't realize until tonight. I'm not kidding. How much of what I'm doing is really him in Public Image Limited. The haircut went the way of all good things in a right here, which is, thank you, Sinead O'Connor, for that. But we were, each of us, I think, we had done it at that point for a very long time, and we were really good at what we did, and we were just trying to step into this new thing that was much bigger than any of us had ever anticipated it getting to.
The chair and World Leader Pretend, I think that's just it's an amazing moment here where you just sort of lift your arm and you have this chair and you're commanding a room of 20,000 people.
I still have that chair on Great Avenue, actually.
Where did that come from?
Well, I thought I opened that song "World Leader Pretend" with Gang of Four, and we opened for the Gang of Four after Pylon. Pylon introduced us to them. We first opened for them in Washington D.C. I want to say, at it was a place where it's where Patti Smith did the King Biscuit Flower Hour in 1977. I know I was really excited to play there. But the Gang of Four were this amazing English band, and we opened for them on 2 or 3 American tours and stole everything. When I say audacious, like, I'm embarrassed how much I lifted from them so directly, with the lights, with the strobes, with the makeup, with the suit, with the chair as a direct ripoff. And I thought that it was okay to steal directly from them if I sang a verse of their song before I was sung. So that's what I did, and there it is. We still know those guys, and they're amazing, and I think they have nothing but appreciation for our fan. Like, we're ultimately, I'm looking at Mike here, we're ultimately like huge music fans, and that's really what inspired the Gang of Four and all the stuff we ripped off from them, and all the numerous, leading to, of course, Lou Reed and
what did you want to do with TOURFILM as a movie? I mean, throughout all of these years, video was becoming sort of increasingly important and interesting to you, and this, I think, was the first sort of full-length concert performance film that you did.
Yeah, it was the first one we did, and thank you for that. It was a great compliment that you made earlier about the Talking Heads and their full-length. This was never intended to be seen as a full-length feature film. I think the intention was to provide MTV the only outlet at that point for with songs that they could pull from and play on all their various programming, which was happening then at that point. It was not really intended to be seen. And you're watching the end of it. It's like, I have to pee. When is this going to end? And it's like AI, the Spielberg, the worst film ever made, which ends like 13 times. So, but this was also experimental film. I mean, the alternative was Michael Jackson and Madonna, both of whom I have great appreciation for, but we were doing a very different thing, and we were pulling these experimental filmmakers from Jim McKay to Jim Cohen and Jim Herbert and others, and trying to present them in a way that had not really happened before. And so and then, you know, bring Athens, and Athens is really, of course, a profound influence on who we were, all the way down to the Chickasaw mud puppy shorts that I had on at the end of the thing.
Are there questions in the room?
So what did you do with that rat tail when you finally cut it off? Do you remember?
No. I didn't burn it because it would smell bad, but no, I don't remember.
How much of the layering of film was premeditated?
For this thing or for the show?
No, for when you had the videos that were projected and then
Yeah.
you put them on top of the performance footage. How much did you know that you were going to do that in advance?
We had film pieces that were specific to certain songs, and then the band would change the set list pretty much every night. So at soundcheck, Peter usually or Mike would do a set list and then hand it to the guy who was projecting the films, and that's how we did it. The idea was that certain pieces that had moods that were appropriate to certain songs and not to others, and sometimes, I mean, it was the end of a tour. Everyone was a little, at that point, out of their mind, and so, you know, if 2 or 3 films were running at one time, that was okay.
One of the really interesting, a lot of these songs are choreographed probably early on, and you know what's behind you, and where you have to be. How much time goes into, blocking and choreographing almost a tour of this magnitude so that it looks as great and artistic as that?
A couple days. we were never much for rehearsing. But I was, you know, totally critically watching our performances, and I'm thinking, my God, I was back there kind of doing some of the moves. I had them so locked in by the end of the tour that, you know, again, my goal for that tour was to have the person in the back row leave the venue at the end of the night feeling that they had experienced something that was huge and profound. So I weighed 130 pounds at that point. I had to do a lot of things with my arms to try to make myself bigger and taller.
Yeah, first I missed 16 Super 8 watching this. But is there anything to you that makes this a McKay movie?
Jim's one of my best friends, and in fact, I can name him, Tim Johnson, and Bertus Downs as the 3 people who, frankly, politicized me more than any others, and then Mike and Peter would be right behind that. And Jim's anger at Reagan, for instance, is something that I think when we put the thing together and we had all those little comments, including the styrofoam comment, which I'm very embarrassed about to this day, but because I was that guy. I mean, I was really, I come from a family of ministers, and I at my very lowest can be very hectoring and kind of professorial, and we all saw that tonight. So, but Jim, I think, probably helped bring those kind of more political things in and then keep them in the edit rather than having it just be kind of a straight concert. We were also, and this was funny, I think we had 2.5 or maybe 3 bona fide hits at that point, and at this point we were so angry at certain people in the audience who just seemed like kind of Reagan youth to be that we would do our 3 most popular songs as the first 3 songs of the set, and then I would say something like, "There it is. If you're expecting any more than that, you're not going to get it, so you may as well leave now." And I would actually say that, which is kind of, that's just horrible thing to an audience, but we did it. I'm not proud of it, but there it is.
But it's complicated because you're politicized, and you're touring America at this point in time with an album that was very political. I remember an ad in my college newspaper, "Vote Green," on the day that the album came out. I think it came out on Election Day '88.
Yeah.
And suddenly the crowd is a very different crowd than the one you're used to and you're playing to, the dancing Reagan youth.
I mean, I think to answer your question, I think Jim, this I think was his first feature film. No, it wasn't at all. In fact, his first one was a documentary, Lighthearted Nation, about a bunch of funny guys in a nursing home. But I mean, as you watch his films over this weekend, kind of in order, I think they're a little bit in the order that they were done in. You'll see his imprint all over this. It'll reflect better than I can say it.
All the way back.
Michael, you mentioned Jim and his festival all weekend from now till Monday night. And it's really maybe not a fair question, so I'll ask. Do you have a favorite film of all the ones y'all made, like with what's coming up with American Movie and Everyday People? And
yeah, and the name of it changed. It's called...
Angel?
It was called Angel.
Angel Rodriguez.
Angel Rodriguez. Is that still the name of it?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a scene in that film that I think is, in my opinion, one of the top 5 most cinematic and most heartbreaking moments in cinema in my history. So that's how much I regard Jimmy Kay as a director. And he would be here tonight, but it's really great that you're here. Thank you so much for coming down. We had fun last week in New York, didn't we?
Sure did. Any last questions?
Well, this is 1989, so of course I thought of Rattle and Hum, and clearly you chose not to go that direction, even though you were talking about how political you were. And did you make some choices to not to feature only the music and not feature interviews or whatever?
What was Red on Home? I'm sorry, I know that's you too, but...
Well, just that, kind of a tour video.
Okay, I never saw it, I'm sorry. And they know that. Those guys, in fact, yeah, those guys are great friends, but I never saw it.
But you didn't, feature interviews with the band or...
No, there was a lot of that on TV, and we were frankly kind of sick of ourselves. We wanted for it to really be more focused on the music and to try to document something that had happened, this insane decade that we had had, and kind of culminating in this.
How did you maintain the energy, and especially how did you keep your voice doing that night after night?
I smoked a lot. The energy, I'm hyperactive. You've known me for a very long time, and I try to slow my voice down when I talk like this, but I'm hyperactive, and that was just that. And then we were all adrenalized to the eyeballs from touring for a decade. So it wasn't hard. The voice thing, I don't think we tweaked it that much. But I was in particularly fine voice, so maybe I had acupuncture or something.
One more, maybe?
All I have is a statement. I'm just a fan, and that's it. In '89, I saw you a bunch of times, but that's where I particularly hit the road and just slept in my car, washed my hair in rest areas, just to follow you guys around.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Lots of great movies coming all weekend, so I hope we see you back here for more Jim McKay films. Thank you.